Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hump day. Here it is, a wonderful Wednesday.
Yes, and
a little muggy. Warmer
yes.
though. Warmer
Yes.
though. It's not 17
Warm
degrees.
and rainy.
Yeah, that's right. So, welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us once again. And guess who won in New Hampshire?
I believe his name is Donald J. Trump.
That's right. Despite the fact that Nikki Haley ran a very expensive campaign, spent lots of money, was really counting on this one, and even had the endorsement of Governor Sununu. And that's fine, except, Mr. Governor, quit criticizing Donald Trump, okay? Go ahead and...
Sununu is royalty in the Republican Party.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
His father was very involved in politics.
Oh, yeah. He was... What was it? He was George H.W. Bush's chief of staff.
Yes.
And he was popular before that. He was governor of New Hampshire before that. So it is that's a long line of the blue bloods, shall we say?
Well, the other thing that's interesting, Bill, I find quite funny. She's taking Democrat money. She's running on the Republican ticket, taking Democrat money. I'm like, sure, spend your money. Waste it all you want, because we all know. And even the RNC chair said, we need to rally behind Trump. Nikki, you really need to drop out. So I'm not sure what else you can say to someone, but she's acting like she won.
I know. In fact, the Daily Caller said that 70%, a whopping 70% of Haley voters in New Hampshire weren't registered Republicans.
And I think we have a clip of that.
Play out. Let's go back to David Chalian with that. And David, you're getting more on the ways that Republican primary voters don't see eye to eye?
Yes, that's right, Jake. In these exit poll results, you see a Mars and Venus universe for Haley and Trump coalitions here. Take a look at the numbers. Among Trump voters, 70% of them, according to our exit polls, are registered Republicans. Donald Trump, his support, 27% of his voters are registered undeclareds or independents. 3% were unregistered before today. Look at how that compares with Nikki Haley. It's a complete reversal. It's an alternate universe. Among Haley voters, 70% are registered undeclareds. Only 27% are registered Republicans. We also see this when asking people, did Joe Biden legitimately win the 2020 election? Which he did. Among Trump voters, 80% say no. They say it wrongly. No, Joe Biden did not legitimately win the 2020 election. Haley voters, it's the complete opposite. 83% of Haley voters say correctly that Joe Biden was the legitimate winner in 2020. Only 15% of her voters say wrongly that he was not. This is the Trump-Haley-Mars-Venus election tonight in New Hampshire.
All right, David, thank you so much.
Okay. Communist News Network striking again. Yeah. No, he's not the legitimate president.
Yeah, it's almost the tale of two realities. And one reality is not real.
No, it's not.
And what's interesting, Bill, I don't know if you saw this, but Halderman released the Halderman report about, it was held for 2 years, and we just got it released in the fall of this year. Well, Halderman was in court because there's an election case, and he was able to hack the machine with a ballpoint pen from the other side's attorney, and he was able to switch votes with just the pen. This happened on Friday. The mainstream media is not picking it up. People are not talking about it, but you need to call your elected official and let them know. You need to know what Halderman did on Friday in the Totenberg case, because that's all we need to know. These machines need to go. We've known that for a really long time. And now he did it in front of I believe she's an Obama-appointed judge. So we'll see what happens with that. But the news media did not pick it up. So I will have to beg to differ with CNN.
The power to ignore is the biggest power that the media has. And they will ignore this story until they can't anymore.
Yeah, and Lizzie Warren's with us this morning, and she says, did not win legitimately. You are absolutely correct. And here's the thing. Bill, whether you believe there was fraud or you don't, the fact that there are so many people that feel disenfranchised, that's what matters. You have to fix that. There has to be trust in order for people to believe that the winner is the winner. And we have not adjusted to make sure that people trust the process.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue.
Yeah. The reality is that if people believe that and they don't trust the system, they may not go out and vote.
No. Well, and Halderman, he's a liberal Democrat. He is no Republican, and he definitely doesn't like Donald Trump. So for what it's worth to people. Lizzie Warren says, and Raffensperger refuses to address the weakness in the Dominion machines until after the 2024 election. Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
And Steve Stanton Sr. says, slowly but surely, we're getting rid of the neocons. Yes, but we need to speed that up because the country is at stake at this point. And I'm excited to talk about in the third segment some of the bribery schemes that we're seeing. That will be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Lizzie Warren says, by the way, Dominion Voting Machines is owned by a private equity firm, Staple Street Capital. Ooh, never good when an equity firm owns you, is it, Bill?
No, last time I checked, yeah, that's not a good sign.
No, private equity is the enemy of the people. So that's exciting. We have a lot of stuff going on in Georgia. And speaking of...
Governor Kemp's on it, though. We'll take care of it.
He's bringing in 30,000 monkeys.
30,000 monkeys. 30,000
monkeys into South Georgia. That will be interesting. They're trying to build a facility there that's like $386 million. The people, of course, down in South Georgia are not happy about this. They're definitely trying to fight it. So don't have a ton of information on that, but that did break yesterday.
Well, okay. We'll keep you posted on that story as well. We'll have a little more for you tomorrow.
Yes. And but Nikki Haley acting like she won yesterday. It's always fun to watch this.
Yeah, sure.
And today, I have to tell you, it was very interesting because I said, wow, what a great victory. But then somebody ran up to the stage all dressed up nicely when it was at 7. But now I just walked up and it's at 14. But she ran up when it was 7. And, you know, we have to do what's good for our party. And she was up and I said, wow, she's doing like a speech like she won. She didn't win. She lost. And, you know, last week we had a little bit of a problem. And if you remember, Ron was very upset because she ran up and she pretended she won Iowa. And I looked around. I said, didn't she come in third? Yeah, she came in third.
Christian, who did you vote for and why?
Yeah, so thank you. I voted for Nikki Haley, and it was certainly a strategic vote. I think the DNC is fairly resolute in their nomination for Joe Biden. And while I wouldn't vote for her in a general election, particularly on our differences with climate change solution, a women's right to bodily autonomy, or incarceration rates, I think a vote for Nikki Haley helps diminish Trump's influence in the RNC and their nomination, but is also a vote towards democracy.
And Christian is emblematic of so many conversations that I've had here throughout the day. Rachel?
Alex, Christian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's good to have that perspective.
Oh, yeah.
They're terrible.
Yes, lying Rachel.
Yes. Trump's so funny. Calling Nikki Haley out looks like she's trying to act like she won, but
in fact,
she didn't.
Yeah. In fact, here she is, just telling everybody she's ready to take the reins.
Well, that's the other thing that I find a big problem with, and this always echoes in my head as we go through this process. The system only works if we have moral and just people that run the country and that are in the body of the country.
Exactly.
And what's happening is we're seeing Democrats, because they cannot vote, because the DNC took that away from them, which just doesn't seem like their democracy they talk so much about. We're actually a constitutional republic, but that's a whole nother thing, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah.
But they're willing to go and vote in a Republican primary, which I'm sorry, it's wrong. They shouldn't be doing it. But that's the only reason that Nikki's numbers look better than they should. And it's because she doesn't have Republicans voting for her. Steve Stanton Sr. says, gone are the Bushes, Cheneys, Romneys, McCains, etc. I hope you're right, Steve. I mean, we're getting there, but when you see what's going on in Washington, D.C., when you look at what's going on under the Gold Dome, they have a surplus of $16 billion in the budget this year. the federal government at least gives your money back. The state of Georgia, they may give you a small percentage, but $16 billion with a B, that's a lot of money, Bill.
It is.
And it seems like the state of Georgia just loves to take our money, and it doesn't feel very Republican to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're a state run by Republicans. And here's the thing. I think as Republicans, we need to be more critical of the people that are in leadership because they are not leading us in the right direction. We have there's so much to report on the budget, and maybe we can get into that tomorrow because the budget here in Georgia is abysmal. What they're using the money for, we're paying for all of these, like the Hyundais, all of these EV plants, we're paying for some of their employees' housing. And some of them don't even live in the state of Georgia because they're built on the edges of the state. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that, taxpayer? I feel very bad about that.
Yeah. And are they going to be able to sell these cars?
That's
We're going to be building these cars. Are they going to be able to sell them?
I don't know. When you look at what happened in Chicago, whether they're all, I mean, you're pushing them in the snow because they don't work.
Yeah. Got a little cold, and then they got to like 5 charging stations, only one of which was operational. And then you had to wait on these people to charge their cars, and it's not like when you fill up with gasoline. These chargers take a long time.
Well, and it just seems like we have lost any sort of logic, Bill. Like, where is it? Where is the sanity in our government?
Yeah, I'm thinking that there isn't any.
Well, and if you guys don't follow Mallory Staples with the Freedom Caucus Network, she's the executive director of the state of Georgia. They're doing some amazing things, some amazing report outs on the budget and all of the legislation that is going in at the Gold Dome this cycle. It's quite abysmal, the things that they care about. I'm hoping that we see some election integrity stuff, but I don't know, Bill. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we will.
I don't either. But Nikki Haley was thinking that, boy, she's still right there in the race, and she's not going to be given up. As she was talking with the voters in New Hampshire last night, that she's still in it to win it. 10.
Well, and so we saw one voter that said that he's flipped over as a Democrat, and here's a second voter, just in case you don't believe us that this is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Haley.
And why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
It's a vote against Trump. I think it would be better to have her against Biden in the elections than it would be Trump and her.
Do you consider yourself generally independent, Republican, or Democrat?
Democrat.
So when you undeclared, you voted for Nikki Haley. If it was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden in a general election, who are you voting for?
Joe Biden.
What is the...
So this is his logic for voting for Nikki Haley, and it makes no sense whatsoever. She's in the pocket of a lot of folks. Donald Trump is not. He's got his own money. He doesn't have to worry about this stuff. That's why they hated him in the first place, is because he was beholden to no one.
Well, and here's the thing: they're rigging the election, and I think this is election interference when you get right down to it. And mm-hmm. Nikki Haley is playing right into it. And here's the other thing. They have 12 events for Nikki Haley in New York, California. I mean, it's just basically saying, like, guess what? We do not want the people to have a vote. We're going to raise all the money we can to try to make sure that we get our candidate and you guys do not get who you want.
It was like all the outside votes and outside money that was raised for when we were running, of course, we had the gubernatorial race here. And all the money that was coming along was being raised in California. How many? Do you remember?
I don't remember the totals, but it was. I mean, the amount of money coming from California and New York was crazy. And it was from Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
That's where she was raising most of her money. She was not raising it in the state of Georgia. Which, why should anyone get to give money to a candidate that does not influence their life? In the state of Georgia, we should be able to choose who our candidate is, and that doesn't mean that we're getting big money from California and New York. Mm-hmm. I think it's the problem with politics is the money involved. The money has ruined what politics should be.
And remember that John McCain and his Confederates came up with some sort of legislation that was supposed to take care of all this. It wasn't supposed to be a lot of big money in politics. The people weren't supposed to be able to donate millions and millions of dollars. But that's not how it worked out, because they came up with all these PACs and everything else. And suddenly the money started flowing in. And money is the mother's milk of politics. And they are able to buy these television ads and spend lots and lots of money trying to influence you and obfuscate the issues.
Absolutely. Well, in Georgia, we're faced with so we saw this whole thing play out. They kick out Senator Moore from the Republican caucus here in Georgia. They are now calling him the people's senator because he is trying to do the will of the people. And the one thing that he has presented is is a bill to change the way RICO can be prosecuted, which will shut down this whole Fani Willis thing. It will then get rid of what's going on with these 18 electors. I will tell you, the Republican Party has spent $200,000 a month to cover the 3 electors that are being prosecuted by her. It is draining the bank account of the Georgia state GOP. It is our responsibility to make sure those people are not bankrupted and their lives are not ruined for trying to do the right thing.
Exactly.
And we need to stop this. It is ruining people's lives. And the fact that our governor and our AG are doing nothing. Fani Willis is having an affair with some guy that prosecuted traffic tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's a loser.
And we're talking about big, $65 million, $650,000 rather. And they've been
taxpayer money that they got to benefit off of.
Right. And what have they done with the money? Well, they've gone on Caribbean cruises. They have. I
thought it was Norwegian,
vacation.
which is
they were on Norwegian cruises, and which goes in the Caribbean. They also were, I think, the Royal Caribbean, as well as going into these 5-star resorts and staying in these Caribbean islands. Just having a large time with the money. And it's interesting, Brittany, that they had at least Fox was showing a video of Fani. She goes by Fani. The daughter of a Black Panther, and she was in 2020 saying that this would never happen under her watch. She would never be having going with somebody who was prosecuting, a fellow prosecutor of some sort. This couldn't happen. That's just unethical.
Well, tell that to his wife, who is now going through the divorce proceedings and is asking for all of those credit card statements, which are showing quite a different story, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are.
So she's been terrible. But our AG and our governor should have stepped in. They developed this commission, which was it went to the Supreme Court, and guess what? It was decided that they couldn't do it the way they wanted to. Colton Moore was right. They kicked him out for it, and now here we are back to square one. They need to do their jobs.
Yeah, get rid of this woman immediately, if not sooner. And I'm tired of hearing this thing, well, whoever replaces her could be even worse. Well, let's just find out.
Yeah, well, I'm willing to take that risk because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And if we get a worse one, guess what? That person goes too. And here's the other thing. Fulton County residents need to pay the price for electing these people. The amount of taxes they should be paying now, because they need to pay this money back to people. The fact that they are prosecuting these people for political reasons, which should be illegal in my book.
Yeah.
They should have to pay back all of those legal bills to those people.
Well, they've taken just one charge and turned it into 23 in this RICO case against the president. And they've even lost the Washington Compost and the New York Times. When you've lost them,
there's too much evidence. They can't hide it.
Oops.
Yeah. And Lizzie Warren says lawfare should be illegal, and Fani equals a phony. 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 Yes. Fani the phony.
All right. Coming up next, we still have a little bit of a problem at the southern border, northern border too, but mostly at the southern border. As hard as that is to believe, we'll be talking about that more coming up. Stay real.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934. With personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Every state is now a border state.
No, haven't we been saying that for about 3 years now?
At least. Yeah, and first it was Chicago, now Boston. They're running out of rooms and shelters.
Dozens of migrants lined up, sleeping on the floor of Terminal E at Logan Airport. WBZ's Louisa Mueller is live for us at the State House tonight. Louisa, the video that we just showed was taken just a few days ago. So are the migrants still there at the airport?
David, I am told they are back there tonight, but they weren't there this morning when I visited. You know, the migrants have told my contacts themselves that they're getting on buses and leaving during the day and coming back in the evening. So we asked lawmakers, is there a coordinated effort to move the migrants during the day, and what does that cost? And their answers were somewhat ambiguous.
Last week, our camera captured dozens of families sleeping on the floor of Terminal E at Logan. Little ones toddling across the floor and babies. The issue isn't new. Massport officials said migrant families were sleeping in Logan in November, but the numbers are startling. Some estimate more than 100 folks.
There's lots of children, a lot of children.
Medford woman Katura Dews has been visiting the airport, providing resources to the families and speaking with them.
A lot of well-care stuff, because a lot of them, while they're at the airport, they don't have access to a shower. So there's like some shower wipes, little towels just to clean up while they wait.
With the state proclaiming that there's no room to house more migrant families in emergency shelters, the question is, where are they going during the day?
This is going on, and they're putting up these curtains now in these places. And if you try to look behind the curtain, you are told, you know, that you have no business doing this. And they said the stench is just unbelievable.
Well, and here's the thing: where are those migrants going during the day?
Yeah.
And how much money is that costing the taxpayer?
Exactly.
Because they don't report that, do they?
No.
You think that's in our $34 trillion budget, Bill? Do you think that's counted for, all these illegals and the checks we're writing? Or does this go into a special fund that we don't know about?
Yeah, good question. I think it's the special fund. I'll vote for that answer, Alex.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they lie to us at every level. They're not telling us the truth about where is this money coming from, because I sure know that I can't afford to pay more taxes, Bill. I don't know about you. I mean, when you look at how much we are taxed and how much tax revenue they're getting, I mean, they're getting tax revenue from people that win the lottery. I mean, and that's almost 50% of the winnings.
Yeah.
So
I'm always amazed that when they say this, if the lottery's now up to, $800 million. And if you take it in a lump sum, you get $500 million. And then you're taxed on that. So you might wind up with only $300 million. Now, I'm still, you can still live on that well. But when you think about how much money they get for nothing.
Tax revenue. They also get taxes for franchise fees from like Comcast and stuff like that. There's a lot of taxes that are hidden that we don't know about that it's not accounted for. I want to see a budget. I want to see the ins and outs. I want it to look like a check register. I want to know what's coming in, what's going out, and where is our tax money going. They want all of my receipts, Bill. I want all of their receipts. Where is my tax money going?
And that when people complain about, how much money the oil companies are making, this always ticks me off.
geez.
The oil companies need a better PR man. That's for damn sure. But
Maybe they need a woman.
when you talk about how much money goes into the government's coffers, the government gets 10 times the money than the oil companies do out of your gasoline price.
And remember, this is money they take. They do not earn this money.
Yeah.
This is taken by the government.
They didn't help drill for the oil. They didn't help refine the oil. They didn't help deliver the oil. They didn't help invest in the gas pumps.
They actually made it harder for us to get the oil.
As a matter of fact, they did.
Weird.
Yeah, because we kept going after a lot of hours, and we got plenty. And it's better than anything else we're bringing in here. And then it costs more energy to bring it in here.
It's ridiculous. Steve Stanton Sr. says, what is sicker than saying if Fani was a Republican, she would be buried under the jail?
Oh, yeah.
You're not wrong, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Lizzie Warren says, why aren't those migrants in the airport sleeping warm and cozy in the homes of local Democrats?
Good question.
You vote for this?
Somebody said,
It should have
I
consequences.
saw some meme the other day that was on, I think, Instagram or something that said, I want all you Biden voters to put signs up in your yard so we know where to send the illegal aliens.
I love it.
Yeah.
And Lizzie Warren says the money is being printed out of thin air. It sure is. And guess what? Guess what that means? That just means more inflation, and it's basically a tax, more taxes on us. Weird how that works.
It really is. Senator John Kennedy said, that this
Love
isn't exactly quantum physics. Alrighty. Well, we'll try to work on that. We had a little bit of a sound issue, so we'll come back to that here momentarily. But one of the things that we also talked, the Prager University, has put out these great videos, and they want you to know the real truth about these illegal immigrants and what the hell it's doing to us.
I am the proud son of immigrants from Bangladesh. I was raised in New York City, which has benefited enormously from the energy and ambition of the millions of people born abroad who've chosen to make it their home. But I also believe that America's immigration system needs to work for America, and right now, that is simply not the case. We need a new immigration system. So what should it be? We're often presented with two stark choices: severe restrictions or open borders. I think there's a better way. But before I offer a solution, let's look at the usual suspects. The case for open borders is, on the surface, pretty attractive. Tens of millions of people around the world would be grateful to come to America for the chance to live in peace and earn a decent living. The vast majority of them mean us no harm. Why not give them a chance to share in the blessings of liberty? The simple answer is that our country is more than just a marketplace. We're a democracy based on a social contract. Americans pay taxes so that, among other things, the poorest, most unlucky among us can still lead decent and dignified lives. If you can't work, you might be eligible for unemployment benefits or disability. If you do work, but your paycheck doesn't go far enough for you to afford medical care or food for your kids, we have a safety net designed to help you stay afloat. Liberals and conservatives disagree on how extensive this safety net ought to be, but they all agree it needs to be there. The question is, how far are we willing to stretch it? A century ago, immigrants who found they couldn't make it in America had little choice but to go back home. That is no longer the case. These days, immigrants who can't earn enough to support their families have access to many government benefits. That doesn't make them bad people. In an age of offshoring and automation, wages for menial jobs don't go very far. If we only admitted a modest number of low-skill immigrants, say as political refugees, we could easily handle it. But over the past 40 years, we have allowed millions of low-skill immigrants into the country, both legally and illegally. While highly educated immigrants pay far more in taxes than they consume in benefits, the opposite is true of immigrants with less than a high school diploma. Immigrant engineers working for Google, Amazon, and Apple do just fine without government help. The immigrant janitors and busboys who serve them struggle to afford housing and to give their kids a decent start in life. Without government aid, many would go hungry. If we were to open our borders, the number of low-skilled immigrants would skyrocket, and so too would the cost of meeting their needs. Ironically, this would only exacerbate the wealth disparity that so animates the open borders crowd. Maybe the rich could wall themselves off in gated communities, but the growing ranks of the poor and even the middle class would have to deal with ever more strained social services. That could provoke resentment strong enough to set off real class warfare. If open borders are a bad idea, so too is severely restricting immigration. For one, immigration has always been part of the American story, and it continues to be an essential source of talent, from Silicon Valley to medicine to pro sports. Why shut ourselves off from the dynamism and energy that immigrants can bring? Thankfully, there is a way to fix this problem. We can modernize the system to give priority to those who have strong skills and job offers. People, in other words, who will pay more in taxes than they need in benefits. Today, we admit about 2/3 of immigrants on the basis of family ties and only 15% on the basis of skills. We need a course correction. We should limit family immigration to immediate family members, such as spouses and minor children, while greatly expanding the number of skills-based visas. A skills-based point system would be a huge boon for people around the world looking to live the American dream. It would give them a predictable, step-by-step guide for how to better their chances at a green card. Just as importantly, by prioritizing immigrants with strong skills, we'd make the safety net much easier to sustain for those with low skills whom we'd still admit, albeit at a more modest level. Let's announce to the world that if you're ambitious, if you have skills we prize, the golden door is open. If you can support yourself and your family and add to our economy, we want you. If we aspire to an immigration system that works, this is the most realistic and idealistic choice. I'm Raihan Salam, Executive Editor of National Review for Prager University.
Way to go.
We have to do better when it comes to legal migration in this country. And the illegal stuff that's going on right now is only going to damage our country. There is no assimilation, which is a huge, huge issue. We see how it's impacted Europe, and we have more people coming in a year than they do.
We have already admitted more people just willy-nilly across this border while Biden's been in president than we did in the entire time that Ellis Island was open. And those people came here with skills, were sponsored, found jobs, and wanted to be Americans. There's a big difference.
100%. And Steve Stanton Sr., I agree with him. I'm tired of being called or referred to as a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, damn it.
Yeah. Amen.
Yes, we are.
Thank you, Steve. Don't stay in the middle of the road here, kid. Yeah. Speak your mind. Well, Senator John Kennedy, as we were saying earlier, said this is not exactly rocket science or quantum physics to figure this out.
Senate Judiciary, Senator John Kennedy. Senator, it's great to have you on. It's good to see you again. Okay, let's talk the border crisis under Biden. You've been speaking from the Senate floor. You're strong on border security, but the Supreme Court just ruled today the Biden White House can remove wire fencing at the border near Eagle Pass. What do you make of this ruling?
Well, I haven't read the opinion, so I can't really comment on it. I will say that securing the border is not, it's not quantum physics. We've done it before. We're in the, and President Biden now says finally that he wants to secure the border. And he says he's working with us on drafting a bill to change the law. I'm not sure we need to change the law. I think President Biden can do it on his own by executive order, but we're willing to change the law, and he says he wants to, but he keeps fighting us every step of the way. And I believe now more than ever that two things, that President Biden and many of my Democratic colleagues believe in open borders. And number two, I think it's time for the American people to wake up and smell the incompetence. I mean, the border is wide open, and as I've said before, that's man-made, and the man's name is Joe Biden. And if the White House, how can I put this? If the White House were a football team and performed like this, we would have already fired the coach, the athletic director, and the mascot. And it just Americans want better, and it keeps getting worse.
Yeah, the polls show that. The Quinnipiac, Monmouth, Emerson, Pew, voters want border security. And Senator Marco Rubio tweeted out, how can the Senate deal with the Biden White House on border security when the White House, as you just pointed out, just went all the way to the Supreme Court to stop border security and is fighting it every step of the way?
Yes, and again, Liz, it's not quantum physics. We need to change the definition of asylum. We need to put in a Remain in Mexico program. We need a safe third country policy. We need to finish the wall. And when you fail to convince a judge that you're meritorious of asylum, you need to be immediately deported. That's what we were doing the day before President Biden took office. He threw all of that out. All the president would have to do is just go back the day before he took office and do what we were doing then. And again, the presidents keep saying, well, I'm working with the Congress. I want to secure this border. I want to change the law. But he keeps refusing to reach an agreement.
Yes, Senator, how can he say he's working with the Congress when he did nearly 100 executive actions in his first 100 days outside of Congress to weaken border security? He did 5 executive actions the day he was inaugurated. He could just take his pen, couldn't he, and undo his policies and executive actions that weaken the border?
Sure.
But he won't, right?
Sure. He could do all of this by executive order. We don't need to pass a bill. Now, I'm fine with passing a bill. I want to pass a bill. We've been working for 3 months to pass a bill. So far, it's just been a gab fest. I mean, I'm not saying people aren't working hard. There's been a lot of shopping, but I don't see any chips flying, and I don't think we're going to reach an agreement this week, is what I'm told. And President Biden says, oh, I want to get there. I want to get there. Well, what you do is what you believe, and everything else is just cottage cheese. I don't believe he wants to get there.
Okay, so you have an anti-fentanyl trafficking bill. Is it getting taken up because it would make penalties tougher for fentanyl drug trafficking? We had an Angel mom testify last week before the House, and she was saying that Democrats, her daughter, her child died from fentanyl poisoning. She said that, when she was testifying, Democrats were on their phones, not paying attention to her.
Well, this is real simple. This represents 40 grams, I don't know if you can see it, of fentanyl. It'll kill 20,000 people, Liz. Every man, woman, and child in Culpeper, Virginia, nearby. This will get you, if you're a dealer, 5 years minimum. This is 5 grams of meth. You can see how much, it probably won't kill anybody. It's not good for you, but it's probably enough not enough to kill anybody. This also gets you 5 years. We punish a dealer of meth less severely than we publish a fentanyl dealer. I mean, excuse me, but it's ass backwards. And my bill wants to change that. It'll say instead of 40 grams getting you 5 years, 2 grams.
So what you're saying is that bag that you just held up, a fentanyl drug trafficker would not go to prison if he had that amount in possession, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying this is 40. You got to have this much, which is a lot. It'll kill 20,000 people to get a minimum of 5 years.
Okay, now I understand. Got it. Okay,
you only have to have this much for meth.
Oh,
it makes no sense.
That's astounding. Yeah. It could kill the entire state of Louisiana with their drug trafficking. I mean, it's more people dying in fentanyl poisoning in the U.S. than World War I and the Vietnam War. And, the thing is, what we're seeing more and more, Senator, police say illegal alien retail theft and drug gangs are behind a string of robberies and crime in cities like Chicago. We're seeing that more and more and more. Do your constituents say that?
Sure. And look, it's coming, the precursor products to make it are coming from China. It's made in Mexico. The political leadership in Mexico, if you took the cartels and turned them upside down and shook them, the politicians in Mexico would fall out of their pocket. They're not doing anything to stop the cartels. So we've got to stop the fentanyl on our own. Number one, we've got to secure the border. And number two, we've got to start punishing dealers.
Yeah, punishing the dealers. So, you know, J.P. Morgan's Jamie Dimon, he's becoming increasingly outspoken. He says if you do not control the border, you're going to destroy our country. Even Democrat Senator John Fetterman says secure the border. It shouldn't be controversial, he says. Let's listen to former President Trump here. Let's get your reaction to this. Watch.
Okay.
On day one, I will terminate every open border policy of crooked Joe Biden and the Biden administration.
He's going to get rid of all of Biden's border policies. What's your reaction, sir?
Well, I hope he does. We did once before. This is not complicated. It is against the law to try to sneak into our country. If you're caught, you ought to be deported. It's against the law to claim asylum and lie. If you're caught, you ought to be deported. If you implement a Remain in Mexico program, a safe third country agreement, and finish the wall, all you have to do is enforce the law. We could have this border secure in 2 months, max. President Biden could do all of that by executive order.
Okay.
But he doesn't want to do it by executive order, so we're trying to pass a bill. And he has obstructed us at every step of the way. The man believes in open borders. I mean, you know, it's just clear.
Got it. Senator Kennedy, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to stay on these stories, okay? It's good to see you.
You gotta love Senator Kennedy. He's the best.
Yeah.
John Stanton Sr. says John Kennedy is a national treasure.
He
sure
is indeed. Yeah, for sure.
And Lizzie Warren says Ellis Island folks were not supported by the taxpayers. That is the big difference here as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you had to have a sponsor, and there was no minimum wage. You found a place to stay, and you took any kind of job you could find. And when the kids went to school, they went to in the nearest neighborhood public school, and they were taught in English. They didn't demand, oh, well, we're Polish. You need to teach it. You need to have a class from teaching Polish.
Yeah, and one of the big issues is the gaslighting we're seeing. And this is the first time that Joe Biden hasn't wanted to do everything by executive order. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah.
So he must like the way it's operating because he loves executive orders.
And here's how far we've come. Do you know how many languages they teach? Rush Limbaugh talked about this over 20 years ago. How many different languages they teach in the New York City school system?
No, but I know that usually Spanish comes before English on most governmental answering machines, so that's exciting.
Something like 96.
It's ridiculous.
But here's something. My wife and I have, the supplemental insurance, health insurance. I got it from, I won't mention it's Humana. But they send us more. They could cut our premiums in half if they quit all the mailings that they send to us. Because we get this stuff about at least once a week. We get this stuff, and there's 7 or 8 pages in there. And then one at the end. Here is the multi-language insert. Here are the languages that they put in there for the multi-language insert: Spanish, Chinese Mandarin, Chinese Cantonese, Tagalong. I thought that was a Girl Scout cookie.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay, well, Vietnamese, French, German, Korean. Here's the other side: Russian, Arabic, Hindi, Italian, Portuguese, French Creole, Polish, and Japanese.
That's a long list. Very long list.
And how much extra does it cost to do this?
That's probably where our premiums have gone up, and everything in this country has gone up because we have to have more resources.
And here's this 877 number to call if you speak another language. And here's somebody calling me now, as a matter of fact, wanting to talk. Let's get rid of that, okay?
And here's the thing. You have Peter Ducey that asked some questions about why doesn't Biden want to secure the border?
Yeah. Let's see what the answer he gets.
Why are you guys making it easier for people to enter the country illegally?
I don't believe we are. Why do you think we are?
Well, you guys sued to cut razor wire that was put in place by Texas officials.
So that the Border Patrol could actually do their jobs, but keep going.
Well, you won in court, so now what? The Border Patrol Union president is saying the Supreme Court's decision is going to undoubtedly encourage more illegal immigration. Do you guys know better than the Border Patrol Union?
The Border Patrol needed access, and that's why we sued to get rid of that razor wire, so that they could do their jobs. And you know what would also help them do their jobs, Peter? More Border Patrol agents. There's an idea. And if you go back to the supplemental request that we put in, there's money in there for some 1,300 additional Border Patrol agents. We want to help them do their jobs. We want to give them more resources. And the answer we keep getting back from House Republicans is no, no, no.
Does razor wire work?
Does razor wire work for what? Does it work for the Border Patrol to allow them to have the access they need to be able to better process people that are trying to get across the border? I don't think so, and that's why we asked for it to be.
Okay, so he just said the quiet part out loud. It does not help them process people into this side of the border.
Yeah.
They want this invasion. People should be outraged. You should be calling everyone you can. You should be expressing your outrage, because this is insanity, Bill.
This is an invasion.
It sure is.
An invasion. This isn't illegal. This isn't just illegal immigration. This is an invasion. This is on purpose. And why these people think that are allowing this, think this is a good idea, that somehow they're going to be able to benefit from this. This is going to blow up in their faces.
Well, and Lizzie Warren says, Vivek just theorized that Nikki staying in the race is because Trump, just in case Trump is found guilty in one of the lawfare cases, which all seem to be falling apart at this point. Steve Stanton Sr. says mailings and phone calls. Lizzie Warren said, what about the trees destroyed by the extra paper? According to all of the languages they had to list. They really don't believe in environmental causes, is what that tells me. And Lizzie
they keep telling us they are.
Yeah. Gaslighting, I think, is what we call that.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah. But maybe we'll go to electric lighting.
Yeah, and Lizzie Warren says, well, they wouldn't need more Border Patrol agents if they had allowed the wall to be completed and they didn't sell off the rest of it, right, Bill?
Yeah, that's right.
And Steve Stanton Sr., he's a liar. 1,300 agents to help processing. Absolutely. And you know what I love, though, Bill? I wish Texas would have grown a backbone about 3 years ago. But here they are saying, actually, no, we're not going to listen to this ruling. And actually, we're bringing in more razor wire. So take that.
Yeah. Since they didn't talk to when Biden has ignored the Supreme Court that said it's unconstitutional for him to give the debt relief for student loans, but he's still doing it anyway. So I don't know why Texas shouldn't say, stick it where the sun don't shine.
Yes, but I do think this could lead to some interesting. We'll see how weak the Biden administration actually is. We'll see if there ends up being a conflict between the Texas National Guard and the actual federal Border Patrol. That will probably tell us all we need to know, Bill, about what the future holds and if we are headed towards civil war. I did hear a rumor that there is potential that Texas could actually vote to not be a part of the U.S. anymore.
Yeah.
They could do it if they wanted to.
Yep, they were a republic once upon a time.
Yeah, so
the Bonnie Blue flag.
Well, and Texas is one of the only states that can actually survive on their own. They have their own infrastructure.
Yeah.
So they could definitely do it if they wanted to.
Georgia could too.
Well, I don't see it happening in Georgia.
I don't either.
We're dealing with a lot here in Georgia that I'm a little bit confused about. Since I think that I thought this was a Republican state, but I have really questioned what's going on here. And when we look at that budget, you'll wonder why. If you do not subscribe to Mallory Staples' Substack, do so now, because she is breaking down the budget and she breaks down all of the legislation that is going through the Gold Dome. So very important stuff happening. And Bill, where
do you find her?
I will get the address during the break.
And Congressman Buddy Carter talked to us at Kiwanis yesterday. He also talked to us right afterward. That's next.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
Scary that it can be put into anything and we can't even see it or notice it.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard here on this Wednesday, Hump Day.
Yes, and I do have that address for you guys, MalloryStaples.substack.com. That is where you can find her reporting out on this. You can also sign up for her Substack, and you'll get it emailed to you, the newsletter. So make sure you check out MalloryStaples.substack.com for that report out.
Yeah, she really knows her stuff. It keeps track of things. Buddy Carter, our 1st District Congressman, was addressing the Savannah Kiwanis Club downtown yesterday. Had a chance to speak to him. I apologize a little bit for the quality of the audio on this, but I think you'll be able to understand it okay. But to talk to him about, what we have, things like budgets and supporting the military and that kind of stuff.
You're sure about budgets and everything else. So how's this one going? Because it seems like we're just get these CRs all the time.
Well, it does look like that. The speaker had said that he didn't want any more short-term CRs. However, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, we continue to negotiate on the budget as well as supplemental funding for Ukraine and Israel. Those are very important topics. So that's part of what we're talking about here. Yes, it's important that we get a budget. And also keep in mind that if we don't have a budget by April 1st, then the 1% cut across the board goes into effect. There are a lot of people who are really skeptical of that and don't want to see that happen. So that may be a stimulus for getting something done, which could lead to changes at the border and lead to cuts in spending.
We keep hearing about, the penny plan, and so that some people have, 1 penny out of every dollar spent, or go back to the 2018 budget or something.
Exactly. Pre-pandemic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. And what happened was whenever we had the debt ceiling negotiations and we raised the debt ceiling, we also had the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And as part of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, Thomas Massey from Kentucky, a true budget hawk, he proposed this 1% across the board cut. So that if you don't have a budget by April 1st, that goes into effect. Let me tell you, agencies don't want to see that. No one wants to see that.
What do you mentioned today about saving Social Security? What's the plan that's in place?
Well, Social Security needs to be stabilized. It needs to be sustained. It needs to be looked at again. There's no question, and stabilized. And if we continue to ignore it, it's not going to be there. This is not to cut it. It's not to cut anybody's benefits. It's not to raise taxes. Although everything is on the board, those people who are getting Social Security now, they're not going to see any cuts. Those people who are expecting it and dependent on it in the near future, they're not going to see any cuts. Now, if you're in your 20s, maybe early 30s, we might need to adjust things. We might need to adjust the age. You might not look forward to getting it at 62 and a half. It might be 65 that you get it at. Those are the type of things we're talking about.
what about going to something like a 401k like other companies do it and get rid of the program altogether? You have your own money.
Everything is on the table. That is the charge, the mission of the commission, and that is that everything's on the table. We want to see it stabilized, sustained. That's just, we're not trying to cut it. We just want to make sure it's going to be there for people in the future.
Right. New Hampshire is voting today. They just had Iowa, and all the polls show that the number one concern is our border right now.
Yes.
What's in the budget for the border? Because and I don't know why. I think Speaker Johnson said he told the president last week or a couple of weeks ago, you can stop this tomorrow.
Absolutely, and he can.
Yeah.
He can. And simply by implementing and enforcing the rules and the laws that are already in effect. There are three things we've got to do. Yes, we've got to send more money down there. Those Border Patrol agents deserve more money. Secondly, we've got to have policy changes down there. But thirdly, and most importantly, enforce the laws that are on the book now. That's what's got to be done.
What about what do you think of the Supreme Court ruling yesterday? It said that Texas didn't have the right to protect themselves.
I was very disappointed, not surprised, quite frankly, but disappointed.
Especially with one of the people that voted for it
Absolutely.
was one of the ones we thought was the most conservative.
Exactly.
What as far as the military here, we've got a new distinction here for the Air Force Museum.
For the Mighty 8th Air Force Museum.
It looks like we're going to be able to save the Combat Readiness Training Center.
Absolutely, and that is so vitally important. Everyone knows how important the military is in our district. I mean, we've got a strong military presence, and certainly on our Army Airfield, Fort Stewart, Travis Field. Travis Field, we're getting the CJ-130s, and those planes are going to keep us going, and that is so vitally important. The Mighty 8th Air Force that was originated here in Savannah, the greatest flying force ever assembled in the history of mankind, that now is the National Museum. That's a title that's not held by very many museums in the country, but it is by the Mighty 8th.
Well, the president's always saying how much he appreciates the military, but yesterday he didn't say a thing about the 2 SEALs that just been killed in this mess that's going on in the Middle East right now.
Yeah, and it's really sad, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the families. It's just awful situation.
Now, concerning the EV plant that we have here, I know you said you were proud of it, but they ain't selling. Ford has cut back, I think, 50% of their production. People are turning in the F-50 Lightnings like crazy because they're not working well. We just had that thing up in Chicago where the people were having to push their cars to the charging stations that weren't even open. This doesn't look like a good idea.
Well, we're still thankful for it, excited about it, and we got a long ways to go. There's no question. I might mention also that Hertz, I think, has traded in 20,000 EVs and going back to gas-powered vehicles. That's what happens when the government tries to pick winners and losers. That's why it needs to be market-driven. What people want. And listen, I'm a co-sponsor of legislation that would end all of these subsidies that are being given to this rush to green philosophy that this administration adheres to. And that's why it needs to be market driven. Obviously, we want the EVs to be successful. We want Hyundai to be successful. But unless the consumer is going to buy into it,
they got Plan B. I've talked to car dealerships, and their EVs are just collecting dust.
Yeah.
Have they got Plan B out there that go to something else? Hydrogen, solar, solar power.
Again, we could be headed for a mess.
Yeah, that's a pretty big investment to turn around and say, well, these cars ain't selling. We'll see you.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to tell the district?
Well, I'm very proud and proud of my team. We were recently named as chair of the Energy and Commerce, Environment, Manufacturing, and Critical Minerals Subcommittee. It's quite an honor and certainly something I'm very proud of, and I couldn't have done it without the people around me, of course, but very excited about it.
Okay, we're not going to see any windmills out on
there will not be any windmills off of St. Simon's or off of Typee. I can assure you of that.
Killing the whales and everything.
No, but we are going to protect our environment. We are going to defeat China. We're no longer going to recognize them as the OPEC of critical minerals.
Hallelujah. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
There's Buddy Carter, and Steve Stanton Sr. says, Buddy Carter taking after his namesake, Jimmy Carter. He was the people's choice till he went to Washington and got co-opted.
Well, there you
Well,
go.
Steve.
Mhm.
And Lizzie Warren says, I think Social Security is never stabilized because the politicians lose a talking point during elections. They don't solve problems. They continue to create them so that they can get elected, Bill.
Yeah. Vote for me. I'll fix this, even though I started it.
Yes. And then Steve Stanton says, didn't see much DEI at the Kiwanis Club. Just saying.
Yeah.
And Lizzie Warren said, did Buddy just criticize Kemp's subsidies for the Bryan County EV plant?
Now, even though I scanned panned one side of the room, there was another side. We had two gentlemen of color who were there yesterday, and we also have one of our members is a woman of color.
Oh, okay.
So we are celebrating diversity. I can assure you.
They have checked boxes.
We have very high standards in our club. We don't live up to them, but we have very high standards. And if you have a pulse, you can join.
Yes, and I do think that was Buddy being concerned about what the EVs are creating. And with 4 of those EV plants here in the state of Georgia, along with some solar companies and things like that, a little concerning, especially when we're seeing all of the layoffs all over the country. So we shall see. Steve Stanton says, no DEI in filming.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the last things that I want to just chat about really quick is Kari Lake. The bribery scandal coming out yesterday in a 10-minute video. If you haven't listened to it, you really should. But here's a quick clip of what that sounded like and thinking they could buy Kari Lake.
They're elected officials, unless they're pre-approved by the swamp. And the swamp doesn't pre-approve of me.
You need a strong party to help
I think
you
you should go public with this and then say, hey,
no.
these people don't want to, they don't want,
And then I turn my key in my car and I just, I like my car.
Tell them I'm not flattered. I'm offended that they...
Don't tell anybody we had this conversation.
I'm offended that they don't care about our country more.
I actually wish you'd just give me a counter offer this big. Give me a counter.
I can't be bought.
Come on.
I can't.
All right, I'll see.
Okay, bye-bye.
Amazing. So that is the GOP state chairman for the Arizona GOP asking Kari Lake to stay out of politics for 2 years at least. And they'll put her on the payroll somewhere and they'll give her a nice cushy salary and she won't have to do a thing.
What are they afraid of?
Don't really know.
What's that about?
Don't really know, but this is how politics works. I think that the American people could not imagine how dirty politics is. But once you start digging into this world, you realize that it's dirtier than you could ever possibly imagine. And it's all about the money. They do not want Donald Trump and they do not want Kari Lake because Kari Lake, she has a lot of poise and she's very articulate and she's been in media for her entire career. So she's very good at staying on point, saying what she wants to say, being articulate. And she doesn't, she's very Trump-esque in a way, but also with a lot more grace, I would say. Lizzie Warren says, wish I could say I am shocked about the Lake bribery, but I'm not. Yes, this is a much more House of Cards and a lot less Veep. So I just think this is really interesting. This happened last March. She did talk about it. She did not release this tape until now. But I do think it shows that we have a lot of people that want to control who is in office. And that's really scary, Bill. It should be the voters. We need to get rid of the Dominion machines. Call your representatives today. We need to close our primaries, as we saw today. And if you change your primary, you have to vote in the general election for our candidate. Sorry, not sorry.
It's the way it should work.
Should. You got to keep people honest, Bill.
And wrapping it up, the show today, we're not going to ask you for contributions because we haven't been getting enough. We have warned you in the past that if we can't get enough money, we can't keep this going. Tomorrow will be our swan song.
Yes.
We cannot keep this podcast going any longer without support. I am shocked and amazed at as little as it costs for us to run this, that we haven't been able within a year and a half to get some people to come forward, whether they're worried about. And we've told you can do this anonymously. We don't have to tell you if we could get donations. We don't have to tell anybody who it is. All these people that said they wanted something that was locally owned, that was conservative, that was independent, have not come forward with the cash. So we're going to have to close up shop. I'm afraid that's just just the way it is. So we'll be back tomorrow to basically say goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks for the support you have given us, and to the people who did manage to support us and actually give us money. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.